Randy, that is the central question before this House as a result of your ruling, Mr. Speaker, in finding a prima facie question of privilege after the Minister of Employment's business partner, Stephen Anderson, refused to disclose to the Ethics Committee who Randy is. The Ethics Committee's probe into Randy began when Global News reported that the Minister of Employment was involved in a shady PPE company called Global Health Imports with Stephen Anderson. According to Global News, the minister had been a partner at Global Health Imports along with Stephen Anderson up until the time that he had been elected in 2021, and that he continued to maintain a 50% ownership stake with Anderson. Global News reported that the company was mired in allegations of fraud and ripping off clients. Indeed, multiple judgments have been issued against the minister's company by Alberta courts. Alberta courts have ordered the minister's company to pay back clients $7.8 million for ripping them off. And Global Health Imports faces a litany of other lawsuits, including a lawsuit commenced by a California-based company, the Gowie Group. The Gowie Group, like other clients of the minister's company, purchased PPE. The PPE was never delivered, but the Gowie Group was on the hook for $500,000, having transferred a $500,000 deposit to the minister's company. Now, one of the excuses provided by Stephen Anderson for the failure to deliver PPE was the Global Health Imports warehouse burned down. Amazingly, 2 weeks after Global Health Imports received the $500,000. And then Anderson was reported to have told the Gowie Group that once they collected the insurance money, maybe then he would be in a position to repay the $500,000 deposit. And the Edmonton police, in their investigation of the fire, concluded that in all likelihood it was arson. Just by coincidence, Mr. Speaker. So here you have a minister involved in a shady company, mired in allegations of fraud, ordered by Alberta courts to pay back clients $7.8 million, where there are allegations or evidence of potential arson and insurance fraud. I would submit that on that alone, that ought to have been enough for the Prime Minister to tell the Minister of Employment, you're fired, you're out of cabinet. But there's more, because Global News reported that someone named Randy, connected with Global Health Imports, was involved in shaking down the Gowie Group for that $500,000 deposit, and that was evidenced in text messages. Among the text messages that Global News uncovered was a message from Stephen Anderson to the Gowie Group leading up to the shakedown, in which he says, "What is going on? I just received this from Randy." And then he copied and pasted the message that he had received from Randy that states, "Anderson, it's 1314 MST and 1514 EST. It literally takes 10 seconds to complete a transfer. I'm telling you, we are not allocating like this. It's midday and nothing is completed. I'm calling Felix to discuss. Be available in 15 for a partner call." Now, why are these text messages so significant? Well, very simply, because if the minister is the Randy in those text messages, then the minister broke the law. That's right. The Conflict of Interest Act is clear. A minister of the Crown shall not be involved in the operations of a business. If the minister is that Randy, then the minister was involved in the operations of the business, working to secure a $500,000 deposit for global health imports, not to mention mention of participating in a partners meeting. Now, that's why the Ethics Committee launched its investigation. We brought the minister to committee at the beginning of June, and the minister was adamant he wasn't that randy. How convenient, except for a few inconvenient facts for the minister. First of all, the Gowie Group believed at all times that the Minister of Employment was that randy in the text messages. When Global News reached out to Anderson to inquire who the randy in the text messages was, he said it was not the minister but the VP of Logistics. But when Global News inquired as to who the VP of Logistics was, they found out it was not a randy but one Edward Anderson, the father of Stephen Anderson. And Anderson later admitted before the Ethics Committee that he lied to Global News. Global News undertook a further investigation. They couldn't find a trace of another randy at Global Health Imports. And I would further add that the randy referenced in the text messages was a partner. The minister had been a partner along with Anderson up until his election. He had a 50% stake in the company at the time of the text messages, and according to the minister's own evidence at committee, he admitted that it was a small operation, that there were a handful of people in the company, him, Anderson, and a few others. So, in the face of that, without a trace of another randy, without any explanation for who this other randy could be, there is only one reasonable inference that can be drawn, and that is that the Minister of Employment is the randy in the text messages. He is the randy that was involved in the shakedown of the Gowie Group. He is involved in allegations of wire fraud, and he is the randy who, as minister, contravened the Conflict of Interest Act. The minister's story doesn't add up. Everyone knows that he is that randy, and it is why Conservatives have been consistent in calling for this disgraced minister to resign from cabinet. For months, he has refused to do so. So we have called on the Prime Minister to fire that disgraced minister. But of course, this scandal-plagued, conflict-ridden Prime Minister has been found guilty not once but twice of violating the Conflict of Interest Act. He is standing behind his corrupt minister. It is an absolute disgrace. It underscores why this government can't be replaced soon enough and why this country needs a carbon tax election, and a carbon tax election now.